The book of Jonah is very short. In my Bible, it's just 1.5 pages. And still, it is packed with a message for us about who we are, what God wants to do with our lives, who Jesus is. And there's so much in there that I decided to recap all the sermons of last week's. And today, we're coming to the song in the middle of the book. Jonah's being swallowed by a fish instead of drowning into the ocean. He wants to run away from God, disobey him. And instead of turning around and actually doing what God tells him, he said, well, if I'm dead, I cannot disobey anymore and I cannot obey anymore. I'll be gone from this. Just throw me into the sea, all right? But God does not let him drown. While he's going under, a big fish swallows Jonah. The question of did this happen, did this not happen, is not so relevant because, first of all, we today, if you Google modern Jonah story or if you go Google man swallowed by fish, this has happened and like just last week, happened again. The question is, how long can a man survive in the belly of a fish? And that might be the actual miracle that somebody can survive 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a fish. There is a report of 1870 where there's report of somebody surviving that, but that is in a different time. And so some of the reports try to fact check this and it's not clear, did this really happen or not? What is clear to me is that Jesus talks about it as a sign. So Jonah, whether it's a lyrical character or I think in my case that it is a person that lived as a living parable for us. Like your life, my life is a parable for everybody else, either to learn or to be warned, right? Jonah's story is a warning story. So he gets swallowed by a fish, and in the belly of the fish, he sings this song. Now, I don't have time to go into the detail of the song. What I will tell you is that every line comes from a different psalm. So Jonah is using like the top hits of that time, basically makes a mashup to use them because probably in such a terrible moment, what is in your mind will come out. And he says at the end one line that is the central message of the whole book of Jonah, which is, I will say salvation comes from the Lord. When he says that, when he acknowledges that salvation comes from God alone, this fish spits him out, vomits him out onto dry land. Couple of observations. First of all, the fish, is called this great monster, it's like the great fish. And what it's alluding to is this idea of the great sea monster. Now, there's a lot of prophecies in Jeremiah, for instance, or Amos, that liken the people of Assyria as a sea monster. Because Jeremiah, for instance, says that like he will swallow, this king will swallow you up like this great sea monster. So the people of Israel, they read Jonah and they were looking at and they were saying, oh, wow, we are now in the belly of the monster, in the belly of Babylon. We've been taken by force into this monster. But God, at a certain time, when we recognize him, when we will turn around and we will say that salvation comes only from him, this monster will spit us out onto dry land and we will start our mission again. That is the first message for us today as well. God has a certain time, even when you feel like you're terribly lost, when you're in isolation and loneliness and darkness like Jonah was, and so lost like Jonah, down, 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 down. You cannot be more down. When you pray, it goes up. And it comes to God and God will respond. That is the great message of Jonah too. Secondly, salvation comes from the Lord means that we don't have a say who gets to save or not, right? Jonah is called to go to Nineveh, to evil people. He thought he could run from God, but God brings him back to the mission. Once he recognizes that he is called to do right that, God brings him back. All right, application for us. When you feel lost and terribly, terribly, isolated, down somewhere, or lonely, call out to God. He is your only source of salvation. People can help you, but not in the degree that God can. He is our true salvation. Secondly, God has called you to bring the good news to somebody. Don't neglect that. Salvation truly belongs to God. If He has called you to a certain thing, do it. God bless you guys. See you in the next one.